Hey everyone, let's take a look what an average contractor is going to give you when it comes to quality of finishing of your walls. Let's take a look at this beauty. Look at this. Look at the beautiful taping. This is actually something that a good quality contractor is going to give you. This is what a top 1%, maybe 5% of contractors is going to give you once you're getting into custom home building. This is what RenoDuck is going to give you when you work with us. And let's talk about how we can actually get from there all the way to here. RenoDuck, get cracking. Hey guys, it's Alex here from RenoDuck, and we are back at our showroom, and today we wanted to show you the beautiful wall that we built with 4 different combinations of paint and primer. This typically helps our clients understand the value of RenoDuck and will help you guys understand how and why it's important to choose the right primer as well as the right paint for your finishing needs. So if you guys know, typically in a house, whether it's a basement or upstairs, you're gonna have windows as well as you're gonna have a bunch of lighting. And depending on where you're going to have light coming in, you're going to have a couple of walls that are going to be exposed to that lighting under not an optimal angle, which will typically reveal the imperfections in taping and mudding and sanding. That's why sometimes you're gonna see the wall in different conditions depending on the time of day. Also, different walls are going to look different because the lighting is going to simply hit them differently. Here at RenoDuck in the showroom, we're in a pretty sort of controlled environment. That's why we turned off the lights and we did that pre-roll to show you what it would look like with terrible conditions. Don't take out the flashlight in your own house and do it, or you're gonna see a little bit of a nightmare. Typically, builders are not the best one doing it, and a lot of contractors don't use specifically the best products, but that's something that we're gonna talk about today as well. So what we got here is 3 types of paints that were applied, as well as 2 types of primers. So we're not going to name names for multiple reasons, but one of them, the final one, is actually our secret sauce, but at least we'll tell you the differences. Also, the interesting thing is all of these panels were painted in the same color of paint. And to tell you even more, these 2 panels were actually painted from the same bucket. So not that it's just the same color, it's literally the same bucket, but the paint looks different. So let's start from that. This half of the wall, we used a pretty typical, very common brand and decent quality primer, what normally 99% of contractors would use. Go to your local sort of paint supplier, ask them what's the most popular primer. This is it, right? We used on this particular wall, on this particular quarter, the standard paint. That's, again, the best seller. Typically what the builders would use as well as the contractors, what contractors would use, so basically that type of grade. The drawbacks of this paint, the basic paint, is you have to repaint it quite frequently, and you cannot touch up cheap paint with high-end paint. You're gonna see the difference because you can see the color difference as well as you're gonna feel the texture difference. It's gonna look very different. So normally this type of paint is going to be scratched way easier. It's gonna stain way easier as well. By the way, stay tuned for that test. After this, we're also gonna do a little bit of a staining and scratching test to show you. We just don't wanna dirty up these beautiful walls. Moving over here, still same primer, but we used a pretty high quality paint at this point, so we kind of went a couple of collections up in terms of quality of the paint. So you'll notice a difference right away. So you'll notice that the color is richer and deeper. That's because the quality of the paint is higher, but the primer below it is still the same. If we move over here, we also changed our application. So what we did is, instead of rolling over here, we rolled the primer for both panels. Over here, the primer was sprayed and the paint was sprayed as well. So this paint is actually sprayed on this wall. The application thickness is actually the same with the roller and the sprayer. We made sure that we used a similar quantity of paint, but you can see that a good type of primer will actually show you the color of the paint way better. So you can see quite a deeper, richer color that replicates the actual reference color way better. This particular primer that's part of our secret sauce also allows you to have so-called level 5 finish taping. So basically it's a very thick special compound that we use when it covers the walls. It basically replicates level 5 taping. That's why when we turned off the lights and we put a flashlight, you could see very little imperfections even with us blasting a very powerful flashlight, and that's not typical environments in which you're going to be looking at in regards to your wall. And when we take a look at this portion, this is kind of our standard as of 2025. So we're kind of proud to announce that the release of our secret sauce when it comes down to walls. It took us a little bit of time and testing. We did quite a bit of testing to make sure that we find the perfect primer and the perfect paint to work together and give you this result. You can see this is the richest color out of all of them. Also, when you touch it, it's extremely smooth and silky because again, we're spraying it, we're not rolling it, as well as the primer is extremely thick. The paint is extremely thick. There's way more consumption when it comes down to paint, this particular paint, but it's extremely scratch resistant. It's extremely stain resistant. And on top of that, it will hide the imperfections extremely well, as you saw with our test without the flashlight. So again, you know, most of the time, a typical contractor will give you that first option. If you hire someone a little bit more high-end, they might typically splurge onto the option number 2. Option number 3 is not as often used, maybe for some high-end sort of contractors. I'm not saying no one can do this, but there's very limited amount of contractors who spend time and money on R&D in terms of testing and developing all of these processes and all of these product combinations. So we take pride in making sure that every step of renovation is done to the point and to the higher standard. And with us, imagine if the exterior of the walls look like that, looks like option number 1, and this is what you see. Imagine what your insides of the walls are going to look like. So make sure when you're choosing the right contractor, you take a look at the quality of the finishing. With us, you can come to our showroom, you can feel it and touch it, you can do the testing, you can understand exactly what we're doing and how we're doing. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification icon. And if you have any questions that you would like us to cover, leave a comment down below. See you next time.